So everybody's talking about Obsidian making new Fallout. And yes, that's absolutely good news in the sense that Microsoft is finally doing something with the Fallout franchise instead of just allowing Bethesda to call all the shots. Everything is better than letting Bethesda do what they want. Just the fact that we're getting a new Fallout game that won't be made by Bethesda is great news on its own. With that said though, wanting Obsidian to make Fallout again only works if Obsidian can still make that Obsidian game. And if you've played Avowed or The Outer Worlds or Pillars of Eternity 2, you already know that this isn't the same studio that shipped New Vegas in 18 months with someone else's engine and a fraction of Bethesda's budget. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what made New Vegas work. And I mean the specific design decisions, not the vibes. And then audit every major Obsidian release since. Track the talent that left versus the talent that stayed. And I'm gonna give my honest answer to the question, can Obsidian still make a great Fallout game? Let's get into it. So here's the thing, when people say New Vegas was great, what they usually mean is the writing. And yeah, the writing was excellent, but that's not why it worked. Plenty of games have good writing. What made New Vegas different was a very particular set of design decisions that all pointed in the same direction. First, the dialogue system actually functioned as a game mechanic. It was not a cutscene you occasionally pick options in. Speech checks were threshold-based, not percentage-based. If you had 50 points in speech, you passed a 50-point speech check every time. No dice roll. That meant character builds were commitments, not suggestions. You couldn't save scum your way past a conversation you were not built for, and the game remembered what you did or didn't do in nearly every interaction. Second, faction reputation, not karma, which the Fallout show apparently thinks is the same thing. Faction reputation. New Vegas tracked what the NCR thought of you separately from what the Legion thought of you, separately from what every minor faction thought of you. You could be a hero to the followers of the Apocalypse and shoot on sight to the Powder Gangers. The world reacted to you differently depending on who was looking. That's more than good writing. That's a systems level design choice that makes every decision feel like it ripples. Third, the quests didn't have right answers. The hardest choices in New Vegas were not good versus evil. They were, which group of flawed people do I betray slightly less? The NCR is bureaucratic, expansionist, and stretched very thin. Mr. House is an authoritarian who might actually be right about the math. The Legion is a slaver empire that keeps the roads safe. And Yes Man lets you burn it all down. There is no good versus bad or Paragon versus Renegade options like in Mass Effect, for example. Nobody was standing behind you whispering which choice was the right one, because there wasn't the right one. That's the three main pillars: systemic dialogue, faction-level reactivity, and moral ambiguity baked into the quest design. That's what made New Vegas work. So let's look at what Obsidian built after. Now, Obsidian didn't just vanish after New Vegas and then reappear for Avowed. They shipped Pillars of Eternity in 2015. If you didn't play it, Pillars was a direct love letter to the isometric RPGs that inspired Fallout in the first place. Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, and it was excellent. It had sharp writing, deep world building. The companion arcs were some of the best Obsidian ever did, and that's saying a lot. Durance alone is a top 5 RPG companion across any studio. And then Tyranny in 2016. Shorter, tighter, and pretty innovative. A game where you start as an enforcer for the evil empire after the Dark Lord has already won. It's all moral compromise from the very beginning. Tyranny was a cult hit for a reason. The magic crafting system was brilliant, and the faction dynamics were New Vegas level complicated. But here's where the story starts to split. Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, 2018. Better combat than the first, gorgeous art direction, fully voiced dialogue for the first time, and it sold terribly. So badly that Obsidian essentially mothballed the franchise. Deadfire's commercial failure is the inflection point. After Deadfire, Obsidian stopped making games for Obsidian fans and started making games that looked like they would sell. Which brings us to The Outer Worlds in 2019. And I'm gonna say something that many people may disagree with. The Outer Worlds is a perfectly fine 7 out of 10 game that was marketed like it was going to inherit the Earth from Fallout. And the writing has moments. Parvati's companion quest is genuinely lovely, but the game design is relatively flat throughout. Perk trees that give you plus 5% to something. dialogue checks that almost never lock you out of anything meaningful, a faction system where nobody really hates you no matter what you do. The world reacts to you about as much as a theme park reacts to a visitor. There's a Reddit post from a few weeks ago that actually puts it perfectly. Give me Fallout 4's combat and crafting systems and New Vegas writing, leveling, and dialogue, and you've got the best open world RPG ever made. It's a comment in an Obsidian dev team thread these people want to believe, but the Outer Worlds didn't give them much to work with. And then we got Avowed in 2025. Combat is genuinely fun. Obsidian finally figured out first-person action. The world design is vertical and dense, lots of secret paths and platforming that rewards exploration. But the writing? Fun, but gets repetitive and formulaic once you reach the third region. That's a quote from the RPG Gamers subreddit, and that seems to be the consensus take. Avowed is a good action game, but it's not a good Obsidian RPG. Okay, so who's actually left at Obsidian? 2 words: Chris Avellone. The man who wrote most of New Vegas' best companions, the Lonesome Road DLC, the Old World Blues DLC, and large sections of the main quest. He is not at Obsidian. He hasn't been for years. He confirmed on social media last week that he is not involved in the new Fallout project. And he's not the only one. John Gonzalez, the lead creative designer and writer on New Vegas, left in 2011. He went on to write Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West at Guerrilla Games. Eric Fenstermaker, who wrote the main quest for New Vegas and was responsible for the faction reputation system design, also left years ago. Josh Sawyer is still there. He's the most important name still at the company, and if he's directing this, that's the best case scenario. But here's what worries me. Sawyer directed Pentiment, a 2D narrative game about 16th century manuscript illustration. It's brilliant. It's also about as far from Fallout as you can get without leaving the medium. And he directed Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, which were isometric throwbacks. He hasn't directed a first-person RPG since New Vegas in 2010, 16 years ago. The broader picture is worse. Microsoft just laid off 52 people from Obsidian's California studio, the exact studio that would be making this Fallout game. Avowed 2 was reportedly cancelled. The Outer Worlds franchise appears dead after disappointing sales on the sequel. Obsidian is not expanding into Fallout from a position of strength. They're pivoting to Fallout because their other projects didn't land. Now, one honest caveat: studio talent is never just about the names you recognize. Of course, Obsidian has hired a lot of people since 2010, and some of them are almost certainly talented. The question is not, can Obsidian hire talented developers? They can. The question is whether the institutional knowledge and the specific design philosophy that made New Vegas work, did that survive the departures, the pivots, and the Microsoft acquisition? So, can they do it? I think the answer is yes, they can, but probably not the way that many people are hoping for. If Obsidian gets a finished creation engine build from Bethesda, same deal as 2010, then they're allowed to focus entirely on writing, quest design, and systems work, then yes, they have the talent for that. Pillars of Eternity prove they can still write memorable companions. Deadfire proved they can still design faction dynamics that create genuinely difficult choices. Even Avowed, for all its writing weaknesses, has companions with nuanced personalities and quest lines that can sometimes surprise you. But if they're asked to build a game from scratch, to develop their own engine, to manage a AAA open-world pipeline, to coordinate the kind of asset production that a modern Fallout game demands, I'm less confident. New Vegas shipped because Bethesda gave them a finished toolset and a massive asset library. Obsidian's job was the part that they're best at: systems and writing. If this new project asks them to do more than that, we could be looking at a much rougher timeline. And then there's also the Microsoft factor. Microsoft has been making baffling decisions about its studios for years now. Closing Tango Gameworks after Hi-Fi Rush was a critical darling. Cutting Arcane Austin after Redfall, which they themselves forced Arcane to make. Gutting 343 Industries repeatedly. The same people who cancelled Avowed 2 and laid off 52 people from Obsidian are the same people greenlighting this Fallout game. So here's what I'm watching for. There are three main things this Fallout game needs to get right. 1. Dialogue that respects your build. No percentage-based speed checks, no dialogue that bends around your choices so everyone ends up in the same place. If I've built a smooth-talking diplomat, the game should let me talk my way out of problems that a combat build has to fight through. And if I've built a brute, conversations should close off, sometimes permanently. Number 2, factions that react to you like real political entities. If I'm wearing NCR armor, Legion soldiers need to shoot me on sight. And if I've been doing favors for the followers, the NCR should treat me with suspicion when I walk into their embassy. The world needs to remember who I've been, not just track a single karma slider and call it a day. And number 3, choices where nobody wins cleanly. The thing New Vegas did that nobody has replicated in 16 years is endings that feel different, but they all carry a cost. You don't get to fix everything. You pick which problems you're willing to live with. That's the stuff New Vegas absolutely nailed, and it's the stuff that nobody has given us ever since. If Obsidian delivers on those three things, I don't really care if the game looks like Fallout 4 graphically. I don't care if it ships with bugs. New Vegas shipped broken and we loved it anyway because the design was right. If the design is right, almost everything else is forgivable. So overall, yes, I am excited. I'm not gonna stand here and pretend that New Vegas' dream came free. It came riding in on 52 layoffs, a cancelled sequel, and a studio that looks very different than it did in 2010. The question is not whether Obsidian can make a Fallout game. They can. The question is whether they can make a Fallout game that really matters, that ripples, that stays. And the answer to that depends entirely on whether the people still at that studio remember what really made their best work work. Till next time, watch what they build.